Hi guys, it's Kate. I am back. You will notice that I am not in the studio. That is because I have the plague and therefore leaving my house would be a really terrible idea because I don't want to give anyone else the plague. So my voice is distinctly gravelly, but I'm here, I'm good, I'm feeling alright. I've been drinking plenty of tea. My brain is going about 50% of its usual speed. So there will be a lot of ums and ahs for me to edit out later. But that's not your problem, that's my problem. Today, obviously it's Sewing Bee again. Sewing Bee, episode 2, series 8. I thought I would actually, show my credentials and wear something I've actually made myself. If you are interested in this, I did a pattern review for Love Sewing back when lockdown first hit and nobody else could come into our studio. It was a t-shirt pattern that we had on the magazine. I turned it into a dress, I gave it pockets, it's very comfy, it's got tiny little mice on it. Look, tiny little mice. I think the fabric was a Lewis and Irene. And it's very nice, very nice. I used this to teach myself to sew with a twin needle, which is, I recommend it if you've not tried it and you want to step up your jersey game. Honestly, twin needle, so easy, so transformative for your sewing. Why did it take me so long to give it a go? I do it all the time now. So, episode 2 of Sewing Bee. It was nice, it was lovely. I think there were things in this episode that really made me realise why I love Sewing Bee. Particularly the pattern challenge where people are helping each other out and showing each other how to use the eyelet doobry and all of that kind of stuff. That is just a lovely representation of who we are as crafters and why we do what we do and all of that nice fluffy stuff. So that was extremely pleasant. I enjoyed that. The pattern challenge itself I thought was actually interesting. Obviously not something that a lot of us are going to sew very often, but I thought it was actually a very good test of a lot of sewing skills. So precise sewing, top stitching, transferring pattern markings. This is why I said my brain's going a little bit slow. Trying to remember words is going to be a challenge today, maybe. But luckily I have video to watch, so we can just run through it. I've already done a first run through, I've done the scoring, I've got myself some little video clips lined up, so I can press go on my little laptop. So yeah, without further ado, should we get into it? Or we could have a word from our sponsor. Perhaps. This week's episode is sponsored by Millie, who is keeping me company when I'm stuck at home, all sad and poorly. She's the best little nurse. She doesn't want to be here. She doesn't care about the Great British Sewing Bee, do you, Mills? But she's very fluffy. She just wants to sleep. Which I understand. Hey Mills, you know you want to look at the TV? She won't use your fabric scissors for cutting paper. She's a very useful pattern weight. She only gets slightly shouty when she's hungry. Don't you, baby? Okay, so same as last time. I am scoring each challenge for each contestant. The pattern challenge and the transformation challenge is out of 5. The made to measure challenge, because it is more important, is out of 10. So then I will add those up, total each contestant's marks, and we'll get a ranking from that. My ranking might agree with the judges, it might not. Let's see. So, bottom of my ranking, actually this one is tied but first bottom of my ranking is Chi Chi. So her pattern challenge, her trainers, actually I thought were cute, but there were bits and pieces that just weren't completely 100% there. But I gave them a 3. They were fine. They were fine. Her transformation challenge, I could kind of see what she was going with, but the finish wasn't there. You can't get the finish there in 90 minutes. This is a problem with the transformation challenge in general, not so much of a problem for Chi Chi. I thought there was an idea there, but it wasn't fully pulled off. So I gave her transformation challenge a 2.5. So you can see some of the finishings are just a bit... And unfortunately that was a bit of a theme for Chi Chi this week. Her made to measure, great ideas, fantastic creativity, originality, perfect, perfectly addressing the brief, wonderful from a distance. Unfortunately, again, it's the finish that just wasn't quite there, and I think potentially because she was rushing, maybe she had some very difficult fabrics to work with, but the finish just isn't there when you look at the details of the applique pieces, at the edging of the sleeve that she cut off. I would have been tempted with that sleeve rather than just get rid of the entire pattern piece, obviously because it's a raglan. I would be tempted, instead of, she's got rid of that entire pattern piece so it just goes to the neckband, I would have been tempted to still put that pattern piece in but do it as almost like a very short cap sleeve. That might have helped still get the same effect for her, but she would have been able to get a better finish, or perhaps not go for a raglan in the first place, and you can just bind a standard set-in sleeve would be easier to just bind that armhole, perhaps. It's a shame. I love Chi Chi. I think she's brilliant, and it's sad to see her go, but I think the right decision was made. Actually, it was neck and neck for me between Chi Chi and Angela at the end of the day, but what brought Angela down for me were more her pattern challenge and her transformation. Obviously, she didn't finish her shoes, so that's a 1.5 from me. She did some good sewing in there, it looks neat, but there's not a finished pattern. So Angela's pattern challenge, gets a 1.5 from me. Her transformation challenge, similarly, it's... what can you do with a transformation challenge? It didn't set my world on fire. It just didn't excite me. I didn't think it was brilliant. Maybe it was just like the actual ribbon choice itself felt cheap, that polka dot ribbon, but I gave that a 2. Her made to measure though, that was a solid 7. Good garment and well finished. As the judges said, just this the choice of colour in the stitching here. If she'd done it in white, you wouldn't have noticed. But yeah, it was a nice garment, well finished. No, I liked her pockets, but it was fine. So Angela was, in terms of points, equal to Chi Chi, but I would put her slightly ahead just because the made to measure was really well done. And then on to my third from the bottom this week is Christian, which surprised me because I thought he was really solid last week, but this week he was just off for me on a couple of little bits. I thought his pattern challenge was good. I liked his choice of fabric. I would absolutely wear those shoes if they were finished to the right degree, but I did like that this pattern challenge really shows up technical skill, your ability to match a point to another point. It amplifies any mistakes, which in terms of a challenge is actually great, because even though everyone tries their best, sometimes everyone can try their best and everyone does a great job and there's not much to say. But it's something that nobody will have done before. It's probably not something that is going to inspire a load of people at home to go out and sew their own high tops. If it does, fair play to you. I hear Guthrie Ghani have got a good kit that people speak highly of. It's not something I fancy, but in terms of for the show, I think it was a really good choice. Christian's transformation challenge, I think he tried something, but because of the different fabrics he used, it became too asymmetrical for me. The green pleating on one side and then the burgundy, I think was it a jersey or something, it was stretching weirdly out of shape, which again, in this amount of time, there's only so much you can do. It forces them to experiment and try things, but then I don't think that leads to something you can really score people on. So sorry, I gave Christian a 3.5 for his shoes and a 3 for his transformation challenge. Both fine, not amazing. His made to measure, I thought was good. I think there's just a little twist in the bottom of the zip just here that kind of throws it off for me, unfortunately. And the judges did also point out some problems with the stitching of the zip higher up. I thought it looked, other than that, like a nice wearable garment. Good interpretation of the brief. Fine. So that's a 7 for me, really. On to Steve. I liked his little shoes. I liked the sort of tie-dye kind of effect. I think he did a reasonably good job finishing them. Reasonably neat. I don't like that you can see so much of his stitching, so maybe he wasn't pulling that tight enough, or maybe his pattern markings weren't quite accurate. But nice enough job. I've given him a 3.5 for his shoes. Transformation challenge, it's a 2. I hate it. That's all I can say. He tried, I guess he tried something. His made to measure though, love it. This is an 8. I think it's fabulous. It's a real shame that he had that blunder with the overlocker and ended up with the little hole. We've all done it. It's absolutely gutting. You have to just fully pull the garment apart and start again. Well, not start again, but you have to recut that pattern piece and put it all back together. There's no way to really fudge it, unfortunately. The other thing that slightly threw me off on this garment is that the outer layer is kind of transparent, so you can see the facing, and I don't think it looks deliberate. It looks like it's just too transparent. Maybe it was deliberate, but I just don't like being able to half see the lining there. I think if you unzipped it and opened it up and you would see that little pop of colour inside would be lovely. But yeah, just didn't quite do it for me, unfortunately. But overall, it's an 8. It's a nice thing. He's made some good choices. It was just, like I say, that damn overlocker. Next person up is Jill. I actually really liked where she was going with her shoes. Unfortunately, only one finished, and the one that was finished, the toe was skew-if. It's a tricky challenge. I liked her choice of fabrics. She did a good job at it, but like I say, you can only give her a 2 for how far she got with it. Now, her transformation, on the other hand, this is good. I feel almost like this is what Christian was trying to go for, but Jill had a slightly cleverer use of where she was placing the different fabrics, and she went symmetrical with it, so each side physically balanced itself out in terms of the way that the pleats sit and pull at the garment and things like that. So Jill's transformation challenge for me is a 4. It's almost wearable. Almost. It still looks like netball kit. It's almost wearable. Like, if that was what you were going for, if you wanted to look like you were wearing netball kit, you could wear it. like I've been watching a lot of Rachel Maxkey on YouTube, and I will link some of her videos if you've not seen them before. She's great. I'm watching one right now where she's making a dress using like burlap potato sacks, and I fully expect that at the end of it, it will look like it's made of potato sacks, but that will be the point, but it'll be well finished. But she spends hours and hours and hours and days doing this. You can't get a good finish in 90 minutes. Back to Jill. Her made to measure I thought was great. I thought it was stylish. It was very neatly sewn, beautifully done, great choice of fabric. If you want to sew a bomber jacket, we've got a free pattern on the website, on Craft World. I will link that. But if you go to craftworld.com and search bomber jacket, it'll come up. Like I said, the pattern templates and the pattern instructions are there for you. Free, download, have at it, make yourself a bomber jacket. This, I thought it was great. It's got that swagger of Nicole Adams, which I like about it. Yeah, this was an 8 for me. And as I mentioned last week, that like when you can get piping that's really delicate and fine and precise, I think it does really elevate a garment. Yeah, this is good, Jill. This is a good solid 8 for me. Absolutely, yeah. And now on to Richie. Some of you may be surprised to see Richie so far up this list, in that the producers of the show clearly were sort of positioning him in the bottom 2 for this week, narratively speaking. They wanted us to think he might be going home. But I think he had a reasonably solid night. Maybe it's just me. I thought his shoes were super cute. I think he did a cracking job with them. I actually gave him a 4 for his shoes. He's clearly a really good sewist. The precision of that was excellent. His pattern, his fabric choices were great. Nice shoes. His transformation challenge. I can see that Richie has his historical influences, and that's his jam, and that's his personality, and all of that. He was so close to this being almost wearable. I am deducting a whole chunk of points for that ridiculous flap at the front. Before he'd got to that point, if he'd had an extra 10 minutes to finish it off with a standard fly front, this would have been a 4 or a 5, right? But he ran out of time, panicked, did something he knows how to do, and did it in white, presumably, because that was the only colour that was left. But I've given him credit for going for culottes, because I think actually pleated culottes could be really friggin' cool. That could actually be a good idea of something that you could do with old gym skirts and have it turning out actually looking cool. But you need 2 matching colours and enough time to do a fly front zip properly, I think. Yeah, God bless him. I really like him. I hope he stays for a while longer. Richie's made to measure. Now, I think actually it was great. Obviously, the main problem was just fit, but if you look at ideas, creativity, fitting the brief, technical sewing skill, he's absolutely there. And I know that this is because I'm a knitter, but I absolutely give him extra points for knitting his own rib, which they don't even mention. He knitted his own rib as a tribute to Tom Daly, who is a knitter. That's the loveliest thing. I actually think it's a really cute jacket. When Sarah put it on, it was absolutely cracking. He's fallen down, obviously, on the measure part of the made to measure. Didn't fit his model, but it was nice. It was nice. I can't help it being nice. You can see when Sarah tried it on that it looked great. It was well finished. It was nice. Such a shame. Anyway, next up from Richie for me is Marnie. I thought her shoes were great. That's a 4 from me. A lot of them using the tweed, now I come to think of it, which is a pretty sensible choice for shoes, to be honest. It's a good solid fabric. It'll shape to your feet as well, so that's, I understand where they were going with that. Her transformation challenge, it's fine. I don't think it really was massively transformational or wearable or what can you do? There's no fault here with Marnie, there is a fault with the challenge, but for me it's a 2.5. Obviously Esme wanted a bigger bow, but I don't think a bigger bow would have made any difference. Marnie's made to measure was lovely. Very good, clean execution of a nice, reasonably complicated pattern. All details are there, very well finished. Solid. I give it an 8. There's literally there is nothing wrong with it. It just, to take it to that next level for me, just needs a little bit more spark and creativity, I guess. But it's very well executed and there's nothing wrong with doing something well, especially at this point in the competition. Because this early on, just doing a solid garment is all you can ask from anyone, because that's going to keep them in till next week, really, isn't it? On to Deborah, queen of the solid garment. Deborah's shoes this week, for me, there were 4. Great, nice, even, tidy. Her eyelets were a bit off, but Her transformation challenge I actually thought was quite a lovely idea. I love sort of smocking and those kinds of things which quite often are done by hand and things like that, but this just reminds me of that kind of very rhythmic type of sewing which I personally enjoy. And I think it turned out a reasonably wearable garment, I think. Very neat, very nicely done. It's a 4 from me. It's nice. Yeah. Her made to measure I thought was cute. I thought it was a reasonably good execution of a good solid pattern. I don't know if perhaps that piping was just a little bit uneven for me. It was just here and there, it just wasn't completely flat. I don't know whether it was because it was a slightly sort of shinier fabric that it just showed those puckers a little bit more, but it wasn't as clean of a garment as I would like it to be, and it wasn't super exciting. I don't think she'd done massively creative things with that garment. So it's a 7 for me. So Deborah this week, good, solid, well done Deborah, good stuff. Now we come on to our top 3. I feel like I'm probably biased, but I don't know if it's possible to be biased because all I know about these people is what all of us have seen on the show. So I don't think I can be biased. But these top 3, they just are my top 3. So Annie, her shoes for me are a 4.5. That extra little bit of thought of the pattern placement to get the stars lined up, very neat, nice top stitching, all of that, lovely, really, really nice pattern challenge. So I gave her a 4.5. for her pattern challenge. I thought it was just cracking. Her transformation challenge, she was trying something, and this is where in the 90 minutes, if you try something that you don't know if it's going to work, if you haven't got enough fabric or whatever, there's no time to fix it. So I think what she had here was a good idea, but she ran out of fabric, which is what happens. So it's a 2, really. Her made to measure, I thought was absolutely cracking. It was gorgeous, really beautifully designed, beautifully fitted, gorgeous finish. Esme had that tiny nitpick where she would have liked to see the lines meet in the underarm seam. But for me, I thought that this was absolutely smashing piece of sewing, and I've given it a 9. Really, really lovely. Liked it a lot. On to my second place, which is Brogan. Oh, can you hear that? I'm right in the flight path for Manchester Airport, so we'll just let that plane go over. Those people go off to their holidays while I'm stuck in my flat with the cat. It's fine. So next up, it's Brogan. Her pattern challenge I thought was lovely. Very Brogan choice of fabric. We're getting to sort of see her personality really come through. She loves a little bit of pink and red, does our Brogan. I liked her contrast fabric. That fabric, actually, by the way, if you like it, it's available from Minerva. We used it for our Inspired to Create sewing magazine, which, by the way, is free to read on Craftworld. I will leave you a link. Yeah, it's a lovely sort of linen blend fabric, really, really pretty, and it's from Minerva. I'm pretty sure it's still in stock. Really nice, solid, stable fabric, really easy to work with, and it's a lovely, soft, gentle print. I loved her use of corduroy with it. I absolutely want corduroy high tops. That's something I want in my life. Lovely, neat stitching. So I gave her a 4 for that pattern challenge. Transformation challenge. This is where you can see she's tried things and it's gone well. This is not a wearable garment by any stretch of the imagination. Where in the heck are you going to wear this? You're not. But her experimentations with using the pleating on the straps and using the binding to break up the shapes and things like that are interesting. So it's seeing the way that her brain works. It's interesting. It's not wearable. It's a 4. But I feel like she tried something and it did work, and it's a 4. What Annie tried had just as much chance of working. It's just luck of the draw that in 90 minutes one worked and one didn't. That's not to take away from what Brogan did. I think it's cracking. It's really nice. But there we go. Her made to measure, lovely, lovely, really, really nice. A little bit of pink and red again, Brogan. Go for it. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. The only thing that, and this might have been a deliberate decision, I don't know, the zip just comes up a little bit short at the bottom. And to me, that looks like a mistake. It might not be, like I say, it could be a deliberate decision that she's made there, but it looks like a mistake to me. So I've given her a 9 on that. But really, really strong showing from Brogan this week. Absolutely excellent, excellent stuff from Brogan. That means my number 1 is the same as last week. For me, it's Manye. I thought her pattern challenge showed real flair. I hate leopard print. I love these shoes. It's putting that aqua blue with leopard print and oxblood is an absolutely bonkers choice, but it works. Those with a like basic pair of jeans and a white tee, you are gonna look cool as heck. Absolutely excellent, excellent piece of work. from Manye on the pattern challenge. I've given her a 5. Maybe I'm biased. I don't care. She's inspiring me. That's what's going on. She's inspiring me. Her transformation challenge is a 2.5. I don't want to talk about it. It makes me uncomfortable. Her made to measure though, oh my days, her made to measure. Her made to measure, this is beautiful. And if you don't sew, I need to tell you how hard this is. She has given herself a task and a half. The ridiculously precise sewing that's required in a fabric that isn't always particularly stable, and she's mixed mesh in there as well. It just absolutely blows my mind how beautiful this is. The colour choices, everything about it is absolutely incredible. She's done amazing work, fully hit the brief for me, and yeah, just it makes me happy. It's gorgeous. She's done a cracking job. Everything about it looks absolutely flawless, and it's made me want to sew a jacket, which I'd previously never wanted to do. So it's a 10. It's a 10. It's our first 10. It's our first 10. Let's throw the confetti. So that's this week's Sewing Bee, folks. I hope you've enjoyed my little recap. Let me know what you thought. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with the judges? Is there anything I've missed? I am very, very, very happy for you to tell me when I'm wrong. Like I say, I'm an intermediate sewist. I'm no great shakes. I could never, ever go on Sewing Bee. I think every single one of these contestants is absolutely phenomenal and so brave for getting on TV and being out in front of all of those people and just smashing it. Just brilliant, brilliant sewists. I'm sad to see Chi-Chi go home this week, obviously, but that's the show. Someone has to go home. I don't think she perhaps did her best today. The finish wasn't there, like I say. And that was literally, of all of the made to measures, that was the only one where you could really say that the finish wasn't there. Because, you know, all of the rest of them, they were clean garments, nice sewing. That's me. Thank you so much for sitting with me. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel. Like I say, we had lost access to our old channel, so we're starting again from scratch, so please subscribe, turn on that notification bell, like this video, leave a comment. We're trying to train the YouTube algorithm to thinking that actual sewing content is good, and we will see you again next week.